The franchise is a ghost of its former self.
It's a specter of Hollywood's failure.
It's got no spirit left.
Buckle your seat belt for a thoroughly whelming joyride.
It's really lost its soul.
You could call it an undead IP.
It's been drained of its spirit.
It refuses to leave us in peace.
A phantom of its former glory.
It's time for a post-mortem on this turkey of a franchise.
It will haunt its producers. Ghostbusters.
For the first time in New York history, a room full of people froze to death in July.
It's finally here! What we've all been clamoring for. The 5th Ghostbusters movie in the year of our Lord 2024. All of our old friends are back, and our not-so-old friends, and some new friends too. And they're gonna encounter some ghosts, and you'll never guess what they end up doing next. Does this franchise have a little life left in it? Or does Sony have to bring out the Necronomicon again?
I think you took the words right out of my mouth there. So, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Which, they stole the title that I wanted to make my Dairy Queen movie about. So, lawsuit imminent.
Well, I think we should open with, first of all, just kind of like some general thoughts about the other Ghostbusters movies. They've been talked to death, but it's our turn to have our little thoughts about them. Now, first movie, and to kind of give a little bit of context, I never watched this as a kid. I don't have the nostalgic connection, but I watched the first movie when I got around to it, and I thought it was charming. It's fun. It has its kind of like quirky humor and everything. I enjoyed it. I don't have the same reverence for it that a lot of people do, but you know, it's fun. I like it.
Yeah, I think I've seen it a handful of times over the years, probably maybe first in like middle school or something when the folks were trying to like quote unquote educate me on the 5, 80s action movies that they watched or whatever. I have to say that I also don't have like any kind of like nostalgic connection to it, but I just kind of don't really like it that much. Like there's some fun ghost stuff, but that run of like 80s comedies doesn't super appeal to me for a various number of reasons, and it just kind of feels super like Reagan-y, and I get that that's kind of the point, but like it's not for me. And that was the only one I saw for like the longest time.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then, they made the sequel. I haven't seen the sequel.
It's
I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
It kind of starts off like interestingly because it's like a couple of years have passed because the film was super like delayed. I think it came out like maybe 5 years later. It kind of starts out okay. They clearly thought a little bit about like it's kind of like a where are they now? Like the Ghostbusters are kind of defunct. Like some of them are like just showing up at kids' parties. Dana Barrett, because she's a woman in the late 80s, the only thing they can think to do with her is give her a baby. So it kind of starts off interestingly enough, and like there's like new evils afoot. Maybe the best part is like the kind of stooge to the main villain, Janos. He's amazing. He's like the best part of any of these movies. I love him so much. And then like as like everything, it just kind of falls off a cliff into coherence. And by the end, like the Statue of Liberty is animated, and somehow that's supposed to like galvanize the goodwill of New Yorkers, which I feel like it would do the exact opposite. But it just falls apart so quickly, and the end is just complete nonsense. And it can only get better from there, right?
Oh yes. So all right, that didn't work. We're gonna put this away. We won't touch it again. And then come 2016, the folks at Sony were like, "Do we break glass and grab it?" And the thing is, because this is super for it's just the most controversial movie of the decade for some fucking reason. But Ghostbusters 2016, it's not good, but it's not terrible. it's very telling that it's like the midpoint of quality for this franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like there's like some good jokes and there's some, at least I get understood that it's a comedy.
Yeah, almost too much so in some regards. Like,
Yeah, it's like it's
you don't
not
need to tell me the
often great at it, but yeah, you know, it's just but there's some decent stuff in it, and then there was Afterlife. I legitimately do not know how people love this movie so much. Everyone's like, oh my god, it's so great. And I watched it, and Paul Rudd in a Walmart with the little marsh minions is one of the worst scenes I've seen in my entire life.
it's so... There's just... I mean, it's... God, I mean, that's... it's like... fucking hillbilly elegy for an hour, and then it's just like, remember the second half of the first Ghostbusters adjacent.
Yeah. Like, not like it's literally Ivo Shandor had an evil plan and Gozer's back. It's like it's the same thing, and it's oh my. And then of course, you know, CGI Harold Ramis, which is just so
Fucking ghoulish. Well,
ghoulish.
yeah. Well, it's just the fact that like they kind of defame the character after the fact. Like everyone's like estranged from him and stuff, which like I guess you could have as the plot, but it just feels like in bad taste, like to like have this dead character, make a CGI model of him, the actor, Harold Ramis, and then like, you know, shit on his legacy or whatever.
It's so weird. It's so I don't know. It's very. It was cynical to me in a way that's just like, at least Star Wars had like a little bit of life to it with the new trilogy.
Yeah, like the Ghostbusters 84 has like that 80s cynicism to it. Like the characters are all schmucks, and you know, they're not great guys. You know, and there's kind of this like spitting in the face of everything, but like that Afterlife is just like devoid of any kind of fun.
Yeah, it's like it's because it's just about like, oh, it's so blatant with the nostalgia baiting. That's, you know, it's this thing that's been like endemic to, you know, cinema for the past decade. Again, thanks Star Wars.
Yeah,
but I don't remember being like so disgusted by it in any movie as much as I was here.
yeah,
Like I have to apologize to Solo, a Star Wars story now. It's again like the original one is kind of cynical as well, but it's cynical in a way where it's like, oh, you know, isn't this a, you know, stupid kind of thing that's going on here? Isn't silly? And the Afterlife is cynical in a way where it says, you, the audience, are stupid enough to fall for this.
Yeah, the cynicism of 84 is driven by like the characterization of Venkman, especially, and all the other guys, kind of in contrast with some of the more like Stance is a lot more kind of like gung-ho about stuff and enthusiastic, whereas here it's like you're saying, it's more like metatextual, like tonal cynicism.
Yeah,
Like
it's just
key
like
jangling.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, it was this big emotional thing. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was... But anyways, this has been talked about for, yeah. And it's like, ultimately, it's like, yeah, whatever. This franchise, it's like, you know, aiming to sell toys to kids. It's, you know, it's whatever. And honestly, so with all of that glowing context in mind... To kind of get to our point here where we're talking about Frozen Empire, this newest one that just came out, I felt like this one was a step up from the previous one.
Okay.
And by that, I mean the Ghostbusters Afterlife, I finished watching that and I thought to myself, I don't know if I like movies anymore. I came out of Frozen Empire and I was just like, I don't really feel anything.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of step up I'm talking about here.
So just like an emptiness versus a negativity.
Yeah. Paul Rudd did not go to Walmart, and there was no CGI resurrections of dead actors. It's like the bare minimum, and Frozen Empire managed to scale that.
Yeah. I feel like it did try to like have new ideas. It just bungles them, and like the application of them is scattershot. But like the end result for me was like I was just completely bored by the film.
Yeah, it's like there's like a few things where it's like, oh, that's kind of like a cute idea or like a fun idea. You know, like as we go through, I kind of like highlight a couple of those, but it's like there's like a couple characters I'm like, oh, that guy kind of got a laugh out of me a couple times. You know, it's like some of the new ghost ideas are kind of fun, and they do some, like I'd even say like a couple clever sequences with them. You know, it's
sure.
So like there's like little flecks here and there, little like veins of like, oh, this is like some good stuff, but it kind of just all gets smothered in.
Yeah.
It's like, but again, like, you know, in this movie, there's no Evo Shandor, there's no Gozer. We have new bad guys to deal with, and I think that's just the third baseline hurdle in this movie. Again, managed to step over that. So it's like, okay, we're going in the right direction. We just need to go a little faster, guys.
Yeah, they really kind of like really pack in a whole bunch of like mythos into this one. It's like, oh, well, okay, this is the left turn for you guys.
I will totally say up front that while I think that, you know, I dislike Afterlife a lot more than Frozen Empire, but that said, I feel like Frozen Empire has a worse structure to its script. And I think part of that is, I mean, again, to give it some credit, it's trying to do something a little different. Afterlife literally just lifted the last half of the original script.
Right, and just kind of like changed enough that it couldn't be accused of plagiarism or something.
It's not plagiarism if you're stealing from your own father.
It's called homage, but not at all. I will say it was kind of funny throughout both of the movies. Early in the film, when they're at the speaking of Jason and Ivan Reitman, early in the movie, Paul Rudd's character pulls out like a Cannibal Girls VHS tape, and I had noticed because I watched Afterlife the night prior. There's also a Cannibal Girls like marquee in the little town where they're at. And that's a Grindhouse movie that Ivan Reitman had done early in his career, so it's kind of just a weird little, like, thing.
A little Easter egg.
Mm-hmm.
And say, like, you know, like, those little things, like, I don't mind so much. Fine. Like, yeah, like, you know, for example, like, in Afterlife, there's one where, like, they go into the house for the first time, and you see, like, the books stacked up in the background. Like, that's, like, a fun little detail. It doesn't... They don't stop and ogle at it, you know. It's just like, you know,
if you're drawing attention to it, if you're pulling the Crunch Bar out of the pocket, like that's when it's going too far.
You open the little, you have a shot specifically where you open up the little dashboard and a Twinkie is in there.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, guys, let's calm down.
Got it.
And we need to be talking about Frozen Empire. And I think that one thing that kind of color, at least the way I'm kind of seeing this movie, is that obviously continuing this franchise, I think, is a very... I don't think it's a great idea because it doesn't really lend itself to like building more on. But it's like, okay, if you insist, what's the way, you know, how do you do that? And I think having each film be like Monster of the Week, showing off like, oh, this weird new ghost has this stuff going on, you know, we're gonna do some new little tech things, and we're gonna have little jokes as we do it. It's not the worst idea, honestly. Like, if given the mandate to do this, to continue the franchise, again, I think it's the right idea to try to do that.
I guess, but like the problem is, even if this ghost behaves differently with all the like death chill or whatever the hell that's called, they still capture it in the same way. It's still the same end result, like suck it into the little box and put it away. It's just kind of like Pokemon or something, but like having different ghost powers is interesting, but it's when you resolve the conflict ultimately the same way, it's still just putting a different Fortnite skin on or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you just have to, it's kind of like, oh, we have to use the super proton pack now. It's like, yeah, it's the same thing, and it's kind of like, it's kind of boring. So it's like, again, it's like they're shambling in the right direction, but like you're just not getting to where it needs to be for the movie to hit.
Right.
And it also doesn't help that this movie has so much stuff going on in it.
All the things.
So like the movie opens up and it's like, it's 1901 New York. The firemen are called. There's like, oh, what happened? Something strange in the neighborhood. What has happened here? So they go up to like this fancy little like ballroom in a tower, and everyone inside is frozen solid. There's this orb, and like, oh, what's going on here? And then you see like, the Spangler family. They're busting a ghost. I don't know why the mom's there. She wasn't really involved in this in Afterlife, but whatever. They're doing their thing. You're like, okay, we got this little plot thread now. They get cracked down on by the city, and they're like, oh, there's this thing there. So it's like, and so like, okay, like you kind of have an idea of, here's our plot threads through the movie, but then they keep coming, and they keep coming.
Yeah.
And after a while, I was like, okay. I think it was like after Kumail Nanjiani like came and everything, and I realized he was going to be a character. I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in this movie.
Yeah, there's just so many characters, but the film, like, they want to introduce these people, but they're not really interested in, like, actually doing anything, like, with them. Like, we introduced Kumail here, and then he kind of just goes away for a long time, and then he's at once integral to the final resolution when we get to there, but is also, like, completely superfluous in a way, as far as, like, us following him as a character.
I think I've just cracked why I think that this one is getting a worse reception overall, even though I think it's overall better.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people are starting to kind of clue into the fact that the series doesn't have a direction. Because they're adding all these new people, and meanwhile, all of the characters that got added in the last movie are really being sidelined. Like, I thought Finn Wolfhard was underused in Afterlife.
Yeah.
And now he gets, what, two lines being told
to, like, get gooped by Slimer 3 times in a row. And that's kind of the sum total of his contribution.
I forgot Slimer was in this movie.
It's just watertight and efficient.
I will say, like, because some of these, like, the effects on some of the ghosts of, like, you can kind of tell that they're trying to do, like a hand in a costume, and then they kind of, like, do some CGI over that.
Yeah. And
I kind of like that they're trying to put in a little bit more practical effect in there. It has that kind of handmade feel to it that I think, if you're going to capture anything from the 1980s, please capture that.
Yeah, janky effects, please. It kind of approaches that at a couple points. Like, the librarian ghost shows back up, and they look really similar.
Yeah, like, that's, I forgot the librarian ghost was in this movie, actually, too. It's probably not a good sign that a lot of the ghosts are things that I'm forgetting. I swear this movie is better than the last one. I swear to God.
So you're not really selling me on that. I will say I'm not a fan of, like, the Stay Puft Marshmallow men becoming, like, masochistic soot sprites. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on with that, like, energy. It kind of posits
like,
for me like something that the film starts to kind of go into, which is very weird. It's weirdest swing, but like, so we know the real reason that they're here is because we remember the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man for the first one, and we like that because we're, you know, according to the studio, knuckle dragging, you know, nostalgia like fanatics, right? That's the reason that they're there. But like, this posits a world where all marshmallows are sentient, and I do not like that at all.
Yeah. Did you ever see? It was like this YouTube video, like 2009, called Marshmallow Murder.
I might have.
It's pretty much like it's a bag of marshmallows who are all like chatting with each other, and they start getting roasted at a campfire, and it's all like a horror movie.
It sounds better than this.
Yeah, so it's actually made by the same guy who he ended up doing The Annoying Orange later on, and then that just became his whole life's work. But I need to be better at selling things.
I was gonna say, I just cross that off the list.
Where was I? Like, it's kind of funny the way they just like they're constantly like throwing themselves to their death, I guess, but at the same time you just like, oh, they're like, oh, minions are popular.
Yeah.
Look what we can do. And no. Also, like, Walter Peck is in this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because you almost didn't recognize him.
Yeah, like he turns around to the chair and it's like the classic like reveal, and I was like, and like several of the people in the audience like gasped, and I'm like, I don't remember who this person is. He aged pretty well, I guess.
Yeah, he's not bad. But it's like why are they gasping? He was in the trailers.
Was he?
Yeah, like he's the one. But yeah, it's just, and so like he's the mayor now. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna crack down on you. And I say like the thing that frustrates me so much with this new revival is that they just don't acknowledge almost anything that happened in the previous movies. Like, for all the reverence they have for the iconography, the worshipfulness they have for like the Ghostbusters logo, all this stuff, they're really bad at like remembering what happened in the previous movies.
Yeah, it's more
it's
just
like,
about the literal iconography. Just to flash that on the screen, and
yeah, it's like, oh, these guys, they claimed they saved the world, but there was no eyewitnesses. There was a massive crowd.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of people died from the Marshmallow Man.
In the second one, there's like a dome of goo around a building, and like, oh god, it's very convenient.
And it's an issue with Afterlife. It's an issue here where it's like, you would think that, and I know this is a comedy movie. Comedy movies, they don't necessarily have to come like, well, ostensibly a comedy movie. So you can kind of be like a little more fast and loose with stuff as long as you are funny. Now that second thing, there is already enough of a, that bar hasn't really been cleared. But also it's like, there's a lot of comedy combined from taking this more seriously. Like, imagine how much of that kind of like that cynical, silly kind of comedy can mine from people being like, oh my god, the afterlife is real, like the metaphysical universe is real, souls are real, there is existence after death, this has been objectively confirmed. What kind of like crisis is that going to spark?
Yeah, versus like Paul Rudd reciting the Ghostbusters song slowly,
right? It's
painfully, which got the biggest laugh, and I wanted to leave the theater, and then I remember that I had to fucking watch the whole thing for this.
I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. We could have been talking about hundreds of beavers, but
so good. There's an actual comedy.
There's so much kind of like missed potential here that I could just, And the reason I think that they try to be like, oh, everybody forgot about the Ghostbusters is so that they can rediscover it. They can be like, oh, what is this? Oh, it's so magical and whimsical, isn't it? And it's like, you could do so, like, I put down here, this is part where I feel like that I thought was building to a joke.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of like the plot of the movie kind of gets going when Kumail Nanjiani, he walks into Dan Aykroyd's shop, and he has a little orb, right? And it's like, oh, my grandma just died. I'm gonna sell her stuff, here at the pawn shop. I'm looking for like $30 for everything in this box. So you got your little setup there.
Right.
And Dan Aykroyd is going through it. He pulls out the orb and goes, oh, this is interesting. And then Nanjiani, he kind of senses that, and he's like, I didn't mean to put that in there. That's going to be extra, actually. So you're kind of like, okay, he's trying to kind of lie, get more money for it. Aykroyd keeps fawning over it. Nanjiani keeps raising the price. Then Aykroyd's like, let me give like a little go over with my ghost detector. He does it, and like it maxes out. The whole building shudders. There's like the clouds darken outside. Everyone's like, what the hell is going on? And it would have been so funny if this happened. Nanjiani just kind of looks around and he's like, you know what? Take it for free.
Yeah, kind of reversal.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like the movie's trying to go for so many different things, and I generally don't think it's, like, aside from casting, the humor doesn't really come from the script or from the actions of the, like, they cast Paul Rudd, they cast Kumail Nanjiani, they cast Patton Oswalt. Obviously the old Ghostbusters are all like SNL alum. It feels like the movie was just counting on them to be able to carry the funniness of it if it was going to be funny. But it's basically just grafting these comedic actors onto just what is essentially a straight action movie. Like, this is there's a fucking laser that shoots into the sky at the end. This is part of the Snyderverse now, essentially. So, like, I feel like maybe him doing his little kind of patter. I don't know if that was in the script or if he was improvising that or what. I don't think. It feels like it wasn't trying to be funny and just, like, resting on its laurels. Which, again, if it's not going to be funny, fine. Make it an action movie. But, like, it fell into the worst possible valley between the two.
And that's the thing, because you can come out and be like, oh, well, it's not meant to be a comedy. It's meant to be an action movie. Well, the action is not super great. There's not even that many action scenes in this, really. It's
not really.
Because they fight the giant stone lion at the library. They fight the big sewer dragon, and then they fight the big ice guy at the end. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, Goomba. I don't fucking remember.
Yeah, that I think that's his name.
Horn Man.
Goomba Hornman. That's his name.
That's his proper name. That's on his birth certificate.
Yes. If you're gonna go on to like the fan wiki, and that's gonna be the name.
His friends call him Garaka.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, so like it's not an action. Like, well, it's about the family thing, but that's so. There's not enough beats there for the family drama to work. So it's just kind of like, what is it?
Yeah.
And I think that the only answer we can really give is it's something that fills the release date that Sony staked out years ago.
Yeah, I think the movie really should have just been, and it was trying in most parts to be primarily about Phoebe, because, like, after that initial sort of, like, cold open, she gets sidelined, essentially, and she's super beat up about that, and then a lot of this, she catalyzes most of the plot, and but which would be fine if the film had focused more on that, but we've also got all these other things that you're constantly getting distracted by, which sort of scatters your attention and it causes you to lose focus on this, what could have been some kind of character through line, which is sort of like kind of carried through to a degree, but mostly just through us being told that it's happening.
Yeah, it's like, cause she meets this, like, you know, ghost girl in the park, and I'll say this was really weird for me because technically, yes, we've seen that like regular not monster ghosts exist in Afterlife, when Egon is like a normal dude who helps his family and everything, but it just feels, if it sticks out to me more how like, oh, there's just regular people ghosts here now. It's not just like a bunch of random monsters.
It's bizarre because like, obviously Egon aside, right, that's its own thing, which you could kind of just file under nostalgia bait, bad taste, but nostalgia bait. This like starts to introduce like an existential element to it. Is what they're doing ethical? Like, do these people have soul? Like, it will get to the point where like the material nature of the soul becomes a fucking aspect of the film, and I'm like, where is this going? Which, like, honestly, when Ghost Girl shows up, who was in a house fire or something, but looks like she died in like 2019. The wardrobe isn't exactly historical, but and her haircut, but like I was kind of just ready for it to become like spooky Call Me by Your Name or something, and I was like, okay, if that's just what the rest of the movie is, let's go.
And again, it's something different from what we got before, so it's like that's kind of what I was looking for, but at the same time it just doesn't really get paid off super well.
Right.
Like, at the end, it's like, oh, I don't know. It's just like, there weren't, with all these little threads being put in, there's not enough beats in each of those threads to make them strong.
You're just supposed to pack as much stuff in as possible, so we have a lot of things to look at, and then just take everything at face value, and that's fine.
Yeah, because you got stuff like, and you, like, it really, I think there was a lot more of this that was filmed. I think there's a lot that's been left on the cutting room floor. Because, again, like, if you want to have all this stuff in the movie, you want it to pay off, this would need to be, like, 2.5 hours.
Please, no.
Either that, or you just take some of the stuff out from the script and you save it for Ghostbusters 6, God forbid, but Ghostbusters 6.
Don't invoke that.
I mean, look, if this does enough at the box office, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
And it's honestly, even if this doesn't do well enough at the box office, they'll just reboot it again.
Yeah, they'll just set it aside, recast everything.
They'll do another reboot, they'll cast some new people, and then they're gonna do a No Way Home crossover where everybody's
turn off this call.
I'm sorry. I should not invoke the devil's name. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so I was talking about how, like, oh, it feels like a lot of this is left on the cutting room floor.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you get near a climax, so there's a point in the movie where, they cause some more damage, and Walter Peck is like, I got you now. Yeah, I'm gonna take away your firehouse and all your equipment in your car. Haha, the Ghostbusters are done.
Right.
And two things. So first of all, after they've saved the world, well, I don't know if Ghostbusters 2 is canon with this, who cares, but like 2 or 3 times they've saved the whole world very publicly. He would have no political support to do any of this.
I think you're making a lot of assumptions that they're thinking all of this through.
I mean, yes, I know. It's like, but also, so it's like he takes their stuff, like, okay, they don't have their stuff anymore, and then like a scene later, they have more stuff. They got it again. They got everything back. It's like, what?
Yeah, there's like a lot of false sort of tension being driven up through like, oh, we'll take this away, you know, there's a solution for that right away. Oh, you can't do this anymore because you're a minor. She'll do it anyway, and there will be, aside from like the antagonist, you know, situation, like there's not a whole lot of like kind of character-based consequences or effects or whatnot. It's all just very sort of self-fulfilling.
Yeah, you know, it's just like, it's like whatever consequences exist just kind of get undercut anyway. So it's just like, again, this just contributes to a movie-going experience where I'm like, okay, nothing matters. It's like,
right,
things are just gonna happen. Again, I swear this is better. I liked this better than the previous one. I swear.
Okay.
God, and there's like we've been talking for what, how long about this already?
Too much fucking
and we
time.
still have, and we haven't even gotten to like all the stuff. Because again, like podcast from the previous movie, he's back. He doesn't have anything to do. You know, it's just like it's, you know, Dan Aykroyd actually gets like a little bit more of a prominent role, and he was like again, like it's like I kind of like the idea of like, oh, him having like this little shop where like he is into paranormal stuff, so he enjoys it as well, but it's also a way for him to kind of collect, you know, things that might be a little bit dangerous in the outside world.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has that in Ghostbusters 2 as well, that the shop, so he's kind of been at it for a while now. And Dan Aykroyd seemed to be like the only person who genuinely wanted to be in this movie. Like,
Yeah, it's
given like his whole like Crystal Skull vodka shtick and all that, like you can tell he just was salivating, champing at the bit to like say all this like mumbo jumbo like verbiage.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's like, and he's, like I said, he felt like he wanted to be in this. He felt like he wanted to, and so like it's those little parts where I'm like, okay, I'm kind of starting to almost buy into it, and then it'll move on to something else. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like these little things where it's like I could see this almost being a genuinely like a decent blockbuster.
And yet here we are.
And yet here we are. Just me, because here I go, I'm going to complain about another thing again. The library scene with Patton Oswalt. Weird kind of thing was going on there for me. So they're listening to the Swax recording of a chant that's going to open up the evil orb, right? And now there's this little ghost that gets introduced called it's like a possession ghost. We never see like its real form, but just like it kind of zips around item to item, causing chaos.
Yeah.
And I kind of like this because there's a couple of fun sequences where I guess trying to get in somewhere, but it can't just walk or float in. It has to possess things. So it's like it goes from like item to item, and it's like, oh, this will roll me forward a few ways. This can like, here's a piece of paper. I can fold myself into an airplane, get one floor up, things like that. And it's like, okay, there's like some creative stuff that's going on. There's like, how's it going to get from place to place? Oh God. Can you hear me?
I can't fucking hear you.
Oh, my internet kind of went down for a moment there.
Okay.
Oh God. It heard me saying something nice about the movie and it just cut me off.
If you just keep talking, I can see if it's pinging better.
Yeah. Let's see. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Better. Yep, that's good.
Okay. My Google document still says it can connect, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the possessor ghost
Oh,
was a fun little like detail, just kind of the mechanics of it and whatnot. It felt kind of clever and cute. Though every time they said possessor, I just kept thinking about the Brandon Cronenberg movie, and that would completely distract me for like 15 seconds.
Just, it was like, oh, that's a movie I could be watching right now. So like this thing is like it's kind of fun. But when they're at the library, they're talking to Patton Oswalt,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be like, oh, this recording, it will open the orb. And the little possessor ghost kind of like overhears this, and then it zips up. It takes the wax cylinder, tries to like, puts in a bag, possesses a bag, tries to waddle away, right?
Right.
And at first I was like, oh, is it like... I thought it was like, oh, it doesn't want them to have the wax cylinder. It doesn't want them to open the orb. Maybe is it like... that's what I thought it was. But then it turns out, no, it is working for the big evil ghost.
Right.
So... Why did it try to...
Yeah.
Why did it try to steal a cylinder?
I think it was trying to like deliver it to the site so it could be played.
But with what?
A wax cylinder that they have on site for the Institute? Surely, I mean, you don't have... Wait, you don't have a wax cylinder player, like, in your living room?
Oh, that's a good point. I have one. I have two at work, actually. You know, it's
just hook up the Victrola, play some ragtime.
So it's just because I was like, oh, because they're saying, like, oh, we should try this to open it up, see what's going on in there. So I was like, oh, they're going to open up the orb. So that's what they want, right? The evil ghost? I'm not going to ask questions about this.
You're finally learning. Yeah, that was the most sense I could make of it, because they need the whole, like, humans need to do it, so maybe a recording of people is good enough, because that's how it worked the previous time.
I guess so. I don't know. They had a little chase, and they got to fight the lion. They vaporized the lion.
Yeah. Poor old Fortitude or whatever the hell.
But whatever that one was.
Temperance. I don't know.
Lefty lion. That's what you call him. But yeah, and then Phoebe gets tricked by the ghost girl to say the incantation, and
which she does after she fucking disconnects her spirit from her body, which is insane. And it becomes, again, like, can't we just... I just want the, like, weird sapphic coming-of-age story aspect of this movie and none of the rest of it. But that was just weird as shit. I'm like, there's no precedent for this. And they casually are like, oh yeah, she ghost walked. You're like, what the fuck is ghost walking?
It's just like, you could do, I mean, there's also like Kumail Nanjiani also has like fire powers from that, because he's descended from like this ancient line of like Mesopotamian, like Iranian, ancient holy order. Yeah, fire keepers. Dudes. It's like, so like,
I will say, vis-a-vis like Gozer the Gozerian's like grand plan to like use the ghost girl to like trick Phoebe into like ghosting herself so that Gozer the Gozerian could then possess the ghost Phoebe, so that then ghost Phoebe's human body could then recite the incantation to unlock the orb. That's some like actual 4D chess going on. Like the amount of like points that could have failed, and yet
well, see, that's why they were literally playing chess earlier in the movie.
Oh my god, symbolic. It's
yeah,
like the Seventh Seal where she plays chess, where Block plays chess with death and he can't win. She can't win against Ghost Girl. Is this a Bergman tier masterpiece?
I think we've just cracked the
Holy
real
shit.
meaning. We're gonna put that on the thumbnail. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire deciphered? I think that's worth 3 red arrows.
There needs to be a circle somewhere. It can be around the number of fucks I give about this movie, which will mean there's no circle on the frame.
No, you don't understand. The circle is the number of fucks you give about the movie. But yeah, they fight. Kumail Nanjiani, the Phoebe puts brass in her laser because of the evil guy. He can freeze the proton streams, but then he can't do it if the brass. And then the ghost girl lights a match because it's like her. Okay,
how are we skipping past the fact that the corpse of Bill Murray has shown up at this point?
You're just like, he smacks the wall, like a panel falls open, he grabs his booze. That wasn't in the script. That was just him being like, all right.
Nothing that he did was in him like magically having sunglasses out of nowhere was not in the script. Him, yeah.
And then it is.
Also, did like Janine's like. What's her face? God, Melnitz. Did she become like less regional New York? Like, her accent was the best part of her character.
Honestly, at this point, like, I don't know. Who is to say?
Who's to say?
Because again, like at this point, I was just kind of like, but it's
just
okay,
blast the
we're
ghost.
Closing. It's they find the ghost, they bust the ghost, and then oh no, the other ghost that got away from the containment thing, and then yeah, that's Ghostbusters Frozen.
Also, the entire like climax is confined to the Ghostbusters like house, which like I don't mind an intimate like final confrontation, but it just feels like we are kind of owed a little bit more fireworks after the absolute drudgery that was like the first hour of the movie.
Right, it's like you need something that, because they had to have it be a big world-ending threat, but like it couldn't have been, I don't know, something that had like a more like personal vendetta against like one of the Ghostbusters or something, or it could be like, heck, like maybe just like, what they could have done. Because you're like when the ice guy, like he gets like his stuff back and everything, and he goes into this like, it was like one like the fire. It was a store called Firewalkers, like everything. And he's like, "Are you the Firewalker?" The guy so it's like, "Yeah, that's what it says on the sign." And he turns around and just gets like immediately, iced. Like, what if it's like Kumail Nanjiani is like, "Oh my god, like this cursed demon thing got unleashed and it's hunting for me. I don't know what to do. Ghostbusters, please help me." And then like you have like that can be like a more central thing in the movie there, kind of.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it kind of feels like, I don't know, like he's existing his own little thing, and then everybody's existing on little bubbles. It's kind of push them together, just like it's not even like a big rewrite, just like push them together so that you have everybody can just feel like they're a part of it. You can't see, I'm just like, I'm motioning with my hand right now, like I'm pushing things into like a little sphere.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's, like, the inklings of it. Like, I feel like the Gaston, whatever the hell that ghost is called, has, like, the most direct relationship to Kumail Nanjiani's character, whom we've known for 40 minutes and don't give a fuck about. But then in the same area, you have like Ghost Girl's little arc with her matchbook and stuff, and then kind of her relationship to Phoebe, and then Phoebe's sort of guilt over having accidentally caused this, demon to be released. And like, so there's like, you can kind of see the connections there to a degree, but it just, it doesn't feel like complete.
I'll tell you what. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Ready?
Sure.
So, Kumail Nanjiani talks about like his grandmother and everything. Instead of his grandmother, have it be his father. And he's like, oh, we didn't have the best relationship, things like that. And then Paul Rudd, he's doing his Ghostbuster business. He hears that. He's like, oh, like this, ended up not working out for him. So I want to be a better father for Phoebe. And then those things, they parallel. You see what I'm getting at here? They start to kind of work towards like a central theme. And so that kind of fits together a little bit better. And he's trying to be a better father and everything. And meanwhile, Phoebe's like, no, with this ghost girl. So it's like, oh, she kind of fallen in with crowd that maybe doesn't have her best interests in mind, things like that. Maybe Phoebe's like, oh, I was a 1920s flapper. I don't care about social norms. And then Phoebe kind of starts going like that. And it's like, and then all these things, like they kind of start to parallel each other, right? You see what I'm getting at here?
Okay. It's like,
and then
it rhymes.
Exactly. It's like poetry.
Well, I mean, if you have enough daddy issues, you basically get a de facto Spielberg movie circa 1985, so those were good.
Well, look, okay, this is the modern day, okay? Like Spielberg, he's yesterday. Nowadays, if you have daddy issues, you get to be a has-been hotel character.
Oh, dear.
There's the seeds here for what could have been something, again, decent.
Yeah, but we didn't get decent.
No, we got pretty bad, kind of boring. Again, it's a step in the right direction, but still. And like, I'll give a shout to like a couple more things that I did like to kind of leave us on a positive note, I guess. There's this new character who's like, his name is Lars Pinfield.
Mm-hmm.
He's an engineer that got hired on by Winston, and it's like he had a couple funny lines. I was like, he made me laugh a couple times.
Yeah, I like James Acaster's, like, I've seen some of his stand-up, and he's probably going to see something horrible in 3 weeks now that I've said this, but I like his comedy. So yeah, like he was a bright spot, if you will.
Yeah. He kind of had that Egon energy.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's kind of like, okay, like this is a little bit what I'd be kind of looking for. And also just like that fact that Winston is like, he's made this giant laboratory to like have different ghosts in there to kind of do. So it's like, okay, like they're trying to expand it a little bit. I think they got some decent ideas, but it's just let's punch it up a little bit. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm kind of done talking about this.
Yeah, I've been done.
Do you have any like final thoughts? Anything last minute you want to say?
This was one of the most boring things I've fucking sat through in recent memory. I will say, after I pass, if anyone attaches my name or dedicates an utter piece of garbage to my memory, I will haunt that motherfucker until the day they die. Ivan Reitman doesn't deserve this.
Oh my. Okay, the actor Dennis Hopper?
Yeah.
Guess what movie got commemorated to him? Movie that was.
I don't know.
It was Alpha and Omega.
Oh dear. Oh no. The estate was not consulted, I take it.
Probably not, no. Also, don't ask me how I know that information. Anyways, yeah, I think I'm just done talking about Ghostbusters.
I'm done with Ghostbusters
Frozen
forever.
Empire. We as a society have moved beyond the need for Ghostbusters.
We can all heal now.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This was a lot of fun to kind of go through here with you.
Thank you.
And if all of you listening, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to get more of us, I'm at Daniel Goldhorn here on YouTube.
I'm Reynard /cinema on Tumblr.
And we'll see you all next time. You take care.
Bye.